Welcome, my friends, to this very quick discussion about earned value. We got a question from one of our subscribers about ETC in particular. Now, earned value is very vast, but you often hear it being referred to as EVM, which just means earned value management. Earned value management is a way of you effectively managing and controlling the cost, the schedule, and the scope. And the way it works is there are four overarching metrics that you need to derive from three variables. The three variables are planned value, actual cost, and earned value. So, planned value, this is pretty much what you plan to get done within a time box. Actual cost is the actual cost that you spent in getting the work done. And earned value, we refer to this as the work actually done. Let me show you a very quick idea here. Let's say we are working on painting this wall, and because it's such a huge wall, you break it down into four quadrants. And your plan is as follows. Your plan is on day 1, I'll do this, on day 2, that, on day 3, that, and on day 4, that. And then management asks you, how much will this cost you? And then you do a detailed budget, and you find that for day 1, it's going to cost you $10 to paint. On day 2, it's going to cost you $10. Day 3, $10, and day 4, $10. These monies are known as the planned value. So the planned value for day 1 is $10. The planned value for day 2 is $10. The planned value for day 3 is also $10. And the planned value for day 4 is also $10. If we add up planned value 1 plus planned value 2 plus planned value 3 and planned value 4, the total is what we call the budget at completion. So we have $10 for each of these days. You add them all up, you are going to get $40. And that is your budget at completion. That means when you get done with this project, your budget should not exceed $40 total. Okay? Now, assuming this project began. As the project begins, suppose on day 1, at the end, instead of you getting all the work done, you only got the shaded area done. The question then is, what percentage of work have you accomplished? Because you will use that percentage of work to understand the earned value. You see, earned value is what you actually accomplished. So let's put a few tags on this. Earned value is what was done. The value, right? What was done. Planned value is what was planned. See that? And actual cost is what was spent. Three variables. What was planned, what was spent, and what was done. So when we go over to this example of what happened really on the project, we already know that what was planned was $10 worth of work. And we know that what was planned was the entire area. The entire area was planned, but when you boil it down, the entire area wasn't done. So, math minds in the room, tell me what percentage was completed? The answer is 75%. This is 3 quadrants out of 4, which is 3 out of 4, 75%. Okay? So we know that 75% of the work was done, And if we know the value of the entire work, the planned value was $10, then the earned value is going to be the percent complete times the planned value. Percent complete times planned value gives you earned value. So if we take that understanding and we say earned value is equal to 75% of $10, we get $7.50. So your earned value for day one is $7.50. So we have a planned value, we have an earned value, which is $7.50. And then the final variable, let's go back to the beginning. The final variable, as you can see here, is actual cost. What was spent? And what was spent is generally given to you in the question. That's right. Now, if it's not given to you in the question, there is a way of you working it based on whatever variables you're given. But for the sake of this illustration, we are going to say, assume the question gives you the actual cost. And it says, at the end of day one, you have spent $12. Now you can juxtapose these three variables. What was planned was $10 worth of work. What was done is $7.50. Think about it. You promised you were going to get $10 worth of work done, but you only got $7.50 done. You are behind schedule. Think about it. Just compare these two, just these two. Let's go to a blank place on the screen and put all these so that you can really ponder on what this means. Okay. So we have planned value and we have earned value. Planned value, $10. Earned value, $7.50. And then the actual cost, and this is day one. Day one. Actual cost is $12. So if you compare, this is always going to be in the center. Earned value is the center of discussion. And if earned value is lower than any of the others, planned value is from a schedule perspective. Right? You can also look at it from a scope perspective. Because when you look at planned value, if you have done only the scope that you were supposed to, you can tell that you have all this scope that wasn't done but was promised. You have $2.50 of scope that hasn't been done. And when I say scope, we're referring to the measurable work. Now, when you look at the actual cost, from a cost perspective, when you compare this to this, you can tell, wow, I got $7.50 of work, but I spent $12. So right off the bat, just using common sense, if the work done, remember the metrics, planned, let's use this for planned, this is for done, and this is for spent. It's a common sense thing. And once you get this, whenever you look at these metrics on your exam, you will always understand what the state of the project is. Because if earned value is lower than any of these two, it's unfavorable. If it's equal, then you're right on target. You get what I'm saying? And for that reason, we have these metrics that we use to further understand these numbers. And the metrics are as follows. I'm going to erase all of this and just show you real quick. So we have the cost performance index. We have the schedule performance index. We have the cost variance, and we have the schedule variance. All right, pay close attention. This is where it gets interesting. So all of these metrics, whether it's CPI or SPI or CV or SV, they all begin with a statement that says earned value, earned value, earned value, earned value. If we are talking about an index, we are surely going to divide. You know that from basic maths, those of you who recall. Indices are always something divided by something else. For variances, it is always one number minus another. So for the indices, we divide. For the variances, we subtract. Now watch this. Where we have a C for cost, the variable that goes in is actual cost. So we put actual cost here and actual cost here. When we're dealing with the schedule, because remember I said the schedule is the planned value, what you planned, right? We put the planned value anywhere we have the S. And those are your 4 core metrics, or your 4 derivative metrics that you got from these 3 core metrics. So you can say this is core because that's the base, and these guys are derivative. Those are your derivative metrics. When I used this stuff back in the day at Honeywell, every Tuesday we would give an account of our SPIs, our CPIs, our CVs, and our SVs. But we didn't stop there. We had to provide even more information. And some of the other metrics that we used were the estimate at completion and the to complete performance index. And very simply put, the EAC is just the actual cost plus the estimate to complete. Simply put, there are 4 EAC formulas, but I want to keep it very simple and distill it down to its bare common sense. Estimate at completion. This just says when all is said and done, how much would you have spent based on today's conditions? See that? EAC is based on today's conditions. So this is one of the metrics management always wanted us to present. How much money will you have spent when all is said and done? And the way you get that is you look at the actual cost, which you already know about, the actual cost to date, and then the other metric, estimate to completion. You could look at this as a brand new bottom-up estimate. Like if your project is so far off and you cannot use any of the estimates you had before, you can use a brand new bottom-up ETC. And all that means is you got to go down to the granular levels and say, based on what is happening today, for example, this project of ours, based on the fact that we were delayed and we didn't get all the work done, but we spent $12 for whatever reason, our estimates are no longer solid and we have to do a brand new bottom-up ETC. You get it? So the idea is for EAC, all roads are going to lead to you understanding the actual cost and you also understanding the estimate to complete. So to my friend who asked the original question, which spurred this video, the estimate to complete is a metric. It's a forecasted metric of how much more money do we need to complete the project from today. So if you go back to our example, we take a look and we say, okay, the state of affairs is we've spent $12 We originally said we are going to spend $40, but if we do a brand new bottom-up ETC, even if everything went well, we're definitely going to spend a 10, a 10, a 10, and we're going to spend $2.50 extra. And we've already spent $12. Even if all goes well, this will still take us the original 250. We've already spent 12, so you do the addition: 10, 20, 30, 42, 44, 50. At the very best case scenario. Now, if we look at a worst case scenario, we could say, well, we spent $12 and we didn't get done. And if we look at the rate of spend and we say each quadrant we spend $4, we can say we're not going to spend 250, we're going to spend 4 for this. So your estimate could then be, well, $16 for each quadrant times 4 is 64. Are you getting the idea? So the idea is to look at the current state, and based on your current state, you understand what your end state will be. And EAC is your end state. Now, for that reason, on top of the EAC, we talk about something called the VAC, the variance at completion. And the variance at completion just means you're saying the original budget minus whatever the EAC will be. See? V equals B. It's a quick way of remembering it. Now, if that's the case, just looking at our original example, we say our variance at completion, let's say we go with a higher number. We can say the variance at completion is going to be that $40 that we estimated in the beginning, the original budget at completion, minus 64. Let's just say we go with 64 for worst case scenario, $64. Then you're going to have a negative variance. Your variance at completion is going to be minus $24. And these are the numbers management wants to know in advance, especially on big aerospace projects, government projects, which is why earned value is used. A lot of people saying that earned value is useless. It's not useless if you're trying to regulate and control how money is spent and you're holding people accountable. And I've seen it being used, and it is still very useful today. In fact, it's unfortunate that a lot of people are still not using earned value despite the fact that their budget is going to the dogs. You can find one of my books. It's called Earned Value Basics. You can find the Earned Value Management Basics book. I believe it's on Amazon for those who use earned value, and you got to learn it, because some folks you just got to learn it. It's part of your job. This was the story of my life when I was at Honeywell. The second metric here is a 2 complete performance index. It's very simple. It's just work remaining divided by funds remaining. And what does it do for us? It shows us how likely we are to come in at the original budget. So if you think about it, if the work remaining is, in this example, let's say we have a lot of work remaining. I think we said about 40. Let's just say we have $40 of work remaining, and the funds remaining, let's say we have $28. This tells you that in order to meet management's original budget, you are going to have to work super hard. And the number that you get for this metric, in this case, it's going to be 40 divided by 28. And that's going to give you 1.43 thereabouts. This means for every dollar you spend, the dollar sign actually cancels. But the mindset, when you get a 1.43, the logic is for every dollar you spend, if you want to meet original budget, you got to get $1.43 of work done for every dollar you spend to meet management's original budget. You must work hard to get $1.43 value for every dollar spent. Now you tell me, how is that possible? The same question that management used to ask us. And this is how management knows you are lying if you say, oh, we can still get back on track. Not with a TCPI of 1.43. So I often say the TCPI is a lie detector mechanism. But anyway, my friends, now that we have gone pretty deep into the mindset, the logic of earned value, because one thing to rattle off the formulas, but it's another thing to actually know what earned value is for and how useful it is in the world of project management. But now that you understand the basics, you can easily apply this formula to our scenario here, right? So if we were going to do this for the numbers that we have here, 10, 750, and 12, let's go to a blank place here. So we can now calculate the CPI, which is earned value divided by actual cost. And in this case, the earned value was what? 750, and the actual cost was 12. Okay? The CV is going to be earned value minus actual cost, which is, put the dollars there because the dollar sign will not cancel in this formula, right? And then the SPI is earned value divided by planned value, which is 750 divided by 10. And the schedule variance is earned value minus planned value, which is $7.50 minus $10. Okay? When all is said and done, we use our trusty calculator here. We're going to say 750 divided by 12, and that gives us, for this one, 0.625. For this one, we get a negative 250. For this one, we get a 0.75. And for this one, we get a negative, oh, I beg your pardon, negative 450 for the top. There had to have been something wrong. That's a negative 450. Okay. Negative 450 and negative 250. Okay. Hopefully those numbers stack up. I didn't use a calculator. 7.5 minus 12. Yes, that's a negative 450. So what do these numbers mean? Let's go through them one by one. 0.625 means for every dollar you're spending a dollar, but you're only getting 62 cents. 62.5. Let's put the 0.5. You're getting 62.5 cents value out of a dollar. You're hemorrhaging money. You're wasting money. That's what it means. And then the 450 means you are $4.50 over budget. You're over budget. Okay? And then the 0.75 means you are only 75% efficient schedule-wise. That means you're planning to do 10 things and you're only getting 7.5 things done. You are behind schedule, and if it continues like that, you're going to end up being late overall. The $2.50 here, the negative 250, means you have $2.50 worth of work or worth of schedule to complete. So your $2.50 worth of work can be seen in that image where we have everything done for day one, but that place I've marked X. That's the 250 that you're missing. So when you make earned value visual, and you break it down like this, it becomes a lot easier to understand. All right? To better understand how earned value works, we should probably create a table, and we should create a table for you to better understand the metrics and the, what should I call it, the implication of the metrics. So let's create a table real quick here. 4 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And the way I like to think about this, I like putting cost together and schedule together, and earned value. Let's actually make it a few more. This is going to make it easier for you. So you just remember that earned value is first in all of these, no matter what. Actually, we could use a blue, because earned value is king. I always tell people, you want to remember this formula or these formulas, you have to remember this fact. Earned value is a persona, right? And earned value has a crown on his head with rubies. It's a persona. And earned value gets mad if you don't put it first in the equation. Now you remember this. You will never forget this. But on a very good day, it has a sinister, toothy grin. It's been vindicated, and it's always first. So earned value is king. EV is king. Don't forget it. EV is king. Right? All right. That's how you remember earned value comes first. So in CPI, we have a division sign, right? Because it's an index. All the indices always have divisions. The variances have subtraction. CPI is cost performance index, so we have an actual cost for both of these, right? For cost variance too. Schedule performance index and schedule variance, we have PV, right? Now this is where you got to understand the implication of the formulas, okay? So when it comes to the indices and for cost, you say if it's a CPI equal to 1, you are on target. And honestly, it's not a bad thing to to actually write these down for yourself so you remember. CPI equals to 1, you're right on target. CPI less than 1, you are over budget. And if CPI is greater than 1, you are under budget. So I normally summarize this as follows. Equal to 1 on target. Greater than 1 is good. Less than 1 is bad. You see, greater than 1 is good, less than 1 is bad. When you have this as a default, it just helps you. Greater than 1 is good, less than 1 is bad. Greater than 1 is good, under budget, good. Less than 1, over budget, bad. Equal to 1 on target. So it's either on, over, or under. In the same token, when we take a look at our cost variance, we can say cost variance equal to 0 on target. Cost variance less than 0 over budget. And cost variance greater than 0 means you are under budget. Get it? This is how you rationalize. For the indices, equal to 1 on target, less than 1 is bad, greater than 1 is good. Now, if it is so much greater than 1, that could actually be a concern. So you got to watch it. For example, if you have a CPI, let's say your CPI is a 4.5. That means you're spending $1 and you're getting $4.50 out of $1. Are you a magician? Are you a Houdini? How are you doing that? So sometimes when your CPI is so high, it's a red flag. You know, like with government, if your CPI is more than, I believe it's 1.02, if it's greater than this, you are going to have some explaining to do, because it could mean you don't know what you're doing, or the marketplace conditions are crazy, or you're padding. That's what it could mean. All right, let's finish this off. Schedule performance index. Again, we're going to take that same logic and we're going to say if your SPI is equal to 1, you are on target. If your CPI is greater, let's stick to the consistent, less than 1 and then greater than 1. All right. Here we go. Okay, so if it is, let's see what we did up here, less than 1 and greater than 1. So if your SPI is less than 1, you are behind schedule. You know, we gotta call it schedule. Don't make the mistake of confusing SPI and CPI. They are not interchangeable. Cost performance does not equate to schedule performance. Just remember that. And then lastly, SPI, if it's greater than 1, that means you are ahead of schedule. Okay? And then last but not least, the same for the cost variant, schedule variance. Schedule variance equal to 0 is on target. Schedule variance less than 0, this is bad, this is behind schedule. And schedule variance greater than 0, this means you are ahead of schedule. So positive numbers are welcome within reason, negative numbers are not welcome. Okay, so we could say this is the implication, and we can say this is the metric, and these are the variables. This is your first variable, this is the operation, and this is your second variable. Okay, so in the case of our work on that problem here, we got a 0.625, a 450, a 0.75, and a 250. So if you put them in context, 0.625 minus 450, a 0.75, and a negative 250. When you do that, you now see what this means. So 0.625 is less than 1, you're over budget. Negative 450 is less than 0, right? So you're over budget. 0.75 is less than 1, you're behind schedule. And negative 250 is less than 0, so we can tell you're behind schedule. Now, if someone asks you which of these is the best measure of absolute performance, it will always be the indices, because this number, even though you understand the context of it because you have the budget at completion, you may not have that in a question. So this doesn't show you how bad things are. This does. Even if you're dealing with billions of dollars, this tells you how bad things are. Same for this. Tells you how bad things are. So someone might say, but Phil, how does one implement this stuff? Well, you implement this stuff with a lot of good project controls. You must be taking stock of your spend. You can't afford to say, well, people are hourly, so we're just going to go with, with the flow. Well, that's a sure way to kill any earned value operation, which is why on some projects it may not make a whole lot of sense, but I would still cost what we're putting in terms of effort. I would still do that, especially if you're working on big projects, because earned value helps with accountability. And if there's no accountability, people just spend anyhow. I've seen it happen time and time again. People, they make up numbers, they make up stuff, and they tell you everything is good until you look under the hood. I'll give you an example. We're working a project, and management took a look at the earned value metrics, and they said, knowing the kind of contract that we have, there is no way your cost performance index should be a 1.25. Why is that? Well, the work that we're doing is a level of effort project, and there's no way you're putting in more effort than you should. It's a level of effort. It's straightforward. We're paid by the hours. We don't go over the hours by contract. So if we have been doing that, then there's something wrong. You see, earned value raises the red flag and says someone's up to something or something's going wrong. Long story short, I do the investigation. I contact our field service engineers. I make the request for an explanation of how we spending this much, how is this happening, and come to realize we had people who were charging to a wrong cost center. And as a result of that, it was making us look good. There was a discrepancy. We're looking too good. It should be a 1 on a level of effort type of project. But this is just one example of how valuable earned value could be when it is done the right way. When it's done with, you give people the training, the education, you hire the right people, you've got ethical people, not people who are trying to game the system. Earned value can be extremely valuable to any organization. All right. Well, again, I hope this has been of value to you. I want to give a huge shout out to a friend who asked the original question, because we got this question from someone who was very curious to know about the estimate to complete. And sometimes if you don't get specific questions from people about earned value, you feel that, oh, it's straightforward, they should understand, they should get it. But maybe not. Maybe they don't get it. And that's why they ask questions, right? That's why we got the question from our subscriber. Now, if you have any questions, please ask. I want to give a shout out to the specific user, and that's R.H.E. Roberts. Looks like Hero Roberts. So shout out to you, because without your question, I would not be creating this video. Oh, it's Ria. I beg your pardon, Ria. So Ria, thank you for asking the question, because without your question, I'm telling you, I would have thought ETC is not really that high in demand. So thanks for the question. And those of you watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button, share it with your buddies who are getting ready for the PMP exam, and also check out the channel. We got a couple of channels. We have the Praizion channel, Praizion, and then we also have the Project Leadership Institute channel. The Project Leadership Institute. Okay? check out both of those channels. Let's know how we can help. If you got any questions or if there are any videos that you want to see, shout out to all our friends on LinkedIn who are watching as well. Wish you all the very best in your project management, your PMP exam, your CAPM exam, whatever you're working on. Those of you getting ready for the PMP exam, remember I have a course on Udemy, and you can find the course at tinyurl.com/elite PMP. Okay? If you are getting ready for the CAPM exam, then just put in the extension elite CAPM. That is tinyurl.com/elite CAPM. All right? All the very best. Keep on practicing, earn value. Don't let it be a dying art. Let's keep earn value alive. I'm sure it will help many, many more generations to come. Take care, my friends. Bye for now.